Okay, good evening all, and welcome to the April 18th, 2019 Board of Trustees for the Village of Chestnut Ridge. As far as my report is concerned, we had our annual shredding event on Sunday, the 7th of April. We had approximately 55 vehicles that residents who took advantage of our annual event. And again, we thank Par Pharmaceutical for their most generous donation for sponsoring the event in total. Based upon the turnout, our hope is that we will do it again next April. So that was great. Just for your own personal reference, the town of Ramapo also does it twice a year, in the fall and the spring. My understanding is that Orangetown does the same thing. So if for some reason you start accumulating documents that need to be shredded and you don't have you can't wait for our April event, there are other events going on in the county. I also had the honor and privilege to attend the annual Muncie Fire Department dinner on the 14th. This past Sunday. Again, it was a great event. It was a nice event. They paid tribute to one of their members who is entered into their 25th year, and it was a nice event. We had some representatives from the county also there to show appreciation. And again, it was a great event. The fire department always does a great job with regard to that, and we thank them for their service. In addition, gentlemen, just as far as the agenda itself is concerned, I had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Rubin the other day, and based upon my conversation, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be holding off discussing his particular position, which is number 11 on your agenda. So that's going to be basically tabled, and we're going to hold that over, and we'll have a discussion. Actually, there's a couple of matters we're going to have to discuss this evening in executive session. We'll probably be able to discuss that too, some other personnel matters and also litigation. But so you know that we're not skipping it, inadvertently we're going to hold that off until further discussion. In addition, Trustee Cohen also asked if he could be around to discuss it, so we can hold it off like that. Okay, that being the case, we would open up the public portion of the meeting on agenda items only, please. Agenda items only. Since I don't have my timer here, I'm going to try to keep track.
I'll use myself.
I got it too. Anyone wish to speak on the agenda? Name and address for the record, please.
Anthony Shaw at 23 Moacty Drive.
Good evening.
Good evening. In addition to Mr. Rubin, are there any changes on any of the other comments with regards to ZBA, ARB? Or?
No.
No? Okay. So are there any reasons why Ed Manning is not being reappointed?
First of all, it says it's being held over, so we're not.
Until a replacement is found?
Excuse me?
Until a replacement is found?
I don't know yet, and I don't discuss personnel in public.
Okay. So then Susan, Bruce, Bob, Michael, those decisions are not open to public discussion?
Bruce, Bob, Michael, you have to give me names, Mr. Schau.
Okay, sure. Susan Silverman, Bruce Goldsmith, Bob Lorank, Michael Scharf.
Bob who?
Lawrence.
Bob Lorenz, okay, he's on the ARB. That's the ARB
Right.
appointment.
Right, so
Okay.
my question is, are you discussing any of those comments that you've made on here?
Yes, they will be on the resolutions.
Okay, so are there any reasons why they're not being reappointed to their positions?
That's a village board decision, and I'm not going to discuss that in public.
Okay. I mean, there wasn't something they did, or?
I am not going to discuss it in public.
The budget, there's 33,000 there on a land use survey that wasn't on your budget, but was on the other budget. What is that 33K for, and why wasn't on your budget? I just don't understand the difference between the
That's
two.
half of the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan came in at $66,000, and because we do it over 2 budget years, it's $33,000 in this budget, and it's $33,000 for the next budget.
And then the 100,000 that's in the contingency line item, that's not the comprehensive plan?
That is not.
Okay. With respect to your appointment as historian, just curious, have you done anything as the historian over the last year?
I have not, actually, for the last 6 years.
Okay. I mean, have we put out any requests to residents who might be interested in the position?
We actually did, and she wanted to be paid for it.
Okay. So you just put a request into one resident? Is that how it went?
No, she volunteered.
Okay. I mean, I think that should be something that we consider
Would
going
you like to
forward.
volunteer to be the village historian, Mr. Schott?
I wouldn't, but we have an entire population of people who might be interested in it, so I don't see anything wrong with putting that out there.
We will take it under advisement.
Thank you. For the movie, what fee was determined for that? The filming?
We are going with the current fee structure that's in the village regulations right now, if indeed it happens, and then we will be revisiting the fee structure at a later date.
So that's $250 an hour, 12 hours a day, 13 days. Is that roughly?
I don't know yet. We'll have to see how that shakes down.
Okay. Were any of the residents notified yet? The
Yes.
neighbors?
Yes.
Sorry.
I actually had a meeting with the production folks, and what they were in the process of doing was they were notifying the approximately 27 homeowners circling Grocky, North Highland, Brattle Lane, Dorier, and Renfrew, about 27 houses, give or take, and they were going to be knocking on every door and letting them know what's going on and apprising them as to what's going on.
Okay. The village itself is not doing anything, the board members?
We are not, no.
Okay. Do they have an opportunity to object to it, or is this a
Of course they
decision
do, and
that's
I
made?
haven't heard anything yet.
Okay.
It's been going on since Monday.
Okay. All right. That's all I have for the agenda.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on the agenda? There being none, I'll close the public portion on the agenda. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine. Thank you, Trustee Miller. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none. Thank you very much. All right. At this juncture, we will open up the public hearing again for the budget fiscal year June 1, 2019 through May 31st, 2020. If there are any further questions with regard to the budget. Again, there has been no change. We stayed within our 2% cap. Because of a reduction in some village assessments, the increase ends up being a tad more than 2%, but as a result, on average, if you're a property owner paying on average a $600 a year village tax bill, your taxes are going to be going up a little less than 3% or a little less than $18 for the year. That having been said, are there any other questions with regard to the budget? I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing on the tentative budget. Thank you, Trustee Van.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
That's fine, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none. Accordingly, I would entertain Resolution 2019-21 approving the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget for the Village of Chestnut Ridge.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine. Thank you, Trustee Miller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, there being none. Thank you very much. It is with honor and privilege to appoint or reappoint Trustee Grant Valentine as Deputy Mayor. I don't require any advice and consent from my colleagues here, but I'm sure you wouldn't have no issue with that. But it's an honor and privilege, Mr. Valentine, to have you continue as Deputy Mayor if you so see fit.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the residents of Chestnut Ridge, I have a commitment to the residents here, and I will do all I can to make sure that Chestnut Ridge is the village that we all expect it to be. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. All right. It is also a pleasure and an honor to reappoint Florence Mandel as our village clerk and Register of Vital Statistics for a term to expire April 2020. And I would Accordingly, seek Resolution 2019-22 approving same.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor
Second.
Valentine, and thank you, Trustee Van Alstine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, there being none, thank you very much. I would also take pleasure in reappointing Elise Channon as our village treasurer, deputy village clerk, and deputy registrar of village statistics for a term to expire April 2020. Accordingly, I would seek Resolution 2019-23 approving same.
I proudly so moved.
Thank you, Trustee Miller. Thank you, Trustee Daniel. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none, thank you very much. I would reappoint Acting Village Justice William Smith for a term to expire April 2020. Accordingly, seek Resolution 2019-24 approving same.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor Valentine, do I have a second? Thank you, Trustee Miller, for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none, thank you. And again, in honor and privilege to reappoint Walter R. Sebastian as our village attorney for a term to expire April 2020, and Paul Baum as our planning board attorney. Accordingly, I would seek Resolution 2019. Yes, that's open. He serves at the pleasure of the village. Thank you. And accordingly, I would seek Resolution 2019-25 approving mayor's appointment of the village attorney.
I so moved that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine. Thank you, Trustee Van Alstine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, there being none. Thank you very much. And accordingly, I would entertain a motion for 2019-26, retaining Paul Baum Esquire at an hourly rate of $130 per hour as planning board attorney for the village, Chestnut Ridge, and at a rate of $175 per hour for land use applicants. That we do it separately because he charges the village and the applicants for the land. So I would ask for that resolution.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Miller, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine, for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, there being none, thank you very much. As I mentioned previously, we're gonna table, number 11 with regard to the, planning board term that was to expire April 2024. I would also, table, the chairperson's, appointment with regard to the planning board. Number 13, again, a privilege to appoint Mark Levine as our deputy chairperson of the planning board for a term to expire April 2020, and accordingly, I would seek Resolution 2019-28 confirming same.
I
So
moved.
moved.
Thank you, Trustee Miller, for the motion, and thank you,
Second.
Trustee Van Alstine, for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, thank you very much. Okay. At this juncture, I would move to appoint Steve Liebman, chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals, for a term to expire 2020, and accordingly seek Resolution 2019-29 confirming same.
I move to approve Resolution 2019-29, approving the mayor's appointment. I'll second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Miller, for the motion, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine, for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, there being none. Again, I thank you. I will table the appointment of the deputy chair for the zoning board of appeals. I will also table the motion to reappoint Ed Manning as member of the zoning board of appeals to hold over until filled by appointment. Also, with regard to 17, I would table any motion to reappoint Bruce Goldsmith as an alternate member, again, to hold over position until the position is filled by appointment. Next, I would reappoint David Silverstein as member of the Architectural Review Board for a term to expire 2022, and I would accordingly seek Resolution 2019-30 approving same.
Mr. Mayor, I move Resolution 2019-30, approving mayor's appointment.
I second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine. Thank you, Trustee Van Alstine, for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
There opposed, being none, thank you very much. Mr. Silverstein, again, thank you for your continued service. At this juncture, I would move to appoint Mr. Kyle Rose as member of the Architectural Review Board for a term to expire April 2022, and accordingly, I would seek Resolution 2019-31 approving same. By way of background, Mr. Rose has been a member of the village, resident of the village for a number of years now, very active in the real estate management business. I'm sure he's going to be a true asset to the Architectural Review Board. And again, Mr. Rose, I thank you for volunteering your services.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Van Alstyne for the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There being none? Thank you very much. Again, I will move to table the appointment of the ARB chairperson until further date. In addition, I would table the motion to appoint the deputy chair to a later date. I will continue with regard to Resolution 2019-32, designating the office of the mayor as the village historian. 2019-32, I would seek a motion with regard to that.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee
I'll
Miller,
second
for
it.
the motion, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine, for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, there being none? Thank you. Resolution 2019-33, approving the contract with Marvin Nyman, CPA, as village financial consultant.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Van Alstyne. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee, thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine, for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none? Thank you. Resolution 2019-34, approving the contract with Nelson Pope and Voorhees LLC as village planning consultant.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Miller, for the motion. Thank you, Trustee Van Alstyne, for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none? Thank you very much. After the fact, there's been no change in their contracts as far as their the fees that they are getting paid. Again, Resolution 2019-35, approving the contract with Spence Engineering as village engineering consultant. Mr. Spence also sits on the planning board as the planning board engineer.
Mr. Mayor, I move resolution number 2019-35.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine, for your second.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Van Alstyne, for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none? Again, I thank you. Resolution 2019-36, designating the Rockland Journal News as the official village newspaper.
Mr. Mayor, I move resolution 2019-36.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine, for the motion, and for your second.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Van Alstyne, for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstention.
Okay, so noted. Abstention from Trustee Miller. Motion passes. Well, we need to have a village newspaper to do our advertisements and stuff like that, so
See that?
that's a protest abstention, I understand. Next, Resolution 2019-37, designating NY Class, M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, JP Morgan Chase, and Key Bank as official village depositories.
I'll move adoption of resolution number 2019-37, designating those parties as office village depositories.
Thank you, Trustee.
I'll second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine, for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, there being none. Thank you very much. Resolution 2019-38 designates locations for official village postings.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine, for the motion. And thank you, Trustee Van Alstyne, for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, there being none. Again, I thank you. Resolution 2019-39 approves the Village of Chestnut Ridge procurement policy.
Second.
And have a
So
motion.
moved.
I'm sorry. All right, there you go. Thank you, Trustee Van Alstyne, for the motion. And thank you, Trustee Miller, for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none. Resolution 2019-40, approving the Village of Chestnut Ridge's 2019-2020 agreement with Cornell Cooperative Extension with regard to the stormwater regulations, education, and outreach, and our participation in the MS4 stormwater grant and stormwater consortium.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine, for the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Van Alstyne, for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none. Thank you very much. Resolution 2019-41, approving the waiver of residency requirement for the positions of code enforcement officer, code inspector, building inspector, and deputy building inspector. This is as a result of some of the issues we've been having with county personnel in that trying to candidates for these positions, and apparently by having a waiver of residency may help. It's not a guarantee, but we need all the help we can get as far as getting people in the office. So that being
So
said,
moved.
thank you, Trustee Van Alstyne, for the motion.
I'll
Do I hear a
second, Mr. Mayor.
And thank you, Deputy Mayor Valentine for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, there being none, thank you very much. Okay. Now, I had an opportunity, as I mentioned during my report, to speak with the folks over at the production company with regard to the filming at 130 Broadview Road. They were very nice folks that are trying to do whatever they can do to make the event there or the goings-on over there as least intrusive as possible. And as I mentioned earlier to a comment of a resident, they, as of Monday, began circling the neighborhood with regard to knocking on every door, talking with folks, letting them know what's going on, and if there were any, if there was going to be any objection. The letters that went to them should be wending our way, and any approval will be based upon, again, the assurances that the residents in the neighborhood have had no objections, which again, to date, we have not. In addition, I spoke on 3 items with regard to the production, with regard to hours and noise, with regard to traffic, and with regard to notice to the neighbors. So, based upon the motion that is before the village board, in addition to the conditions that the village attorney has enumerated with regard to the to said resolution, namely that number one, the payment of the appropriate fees with regard to the filming, the compliance with the village's film, the overall village's film policy, the coverage of the shoot times by the Ramapo Police Department being at the applicant's expense, and number 4, what we had agreed to was again as follows: that the neighbors in the neighborhood in the surrounding area, the surrounding block, which overlaps approximately 27 homes, and across the street are to be notified and to confirm that they're okay with the filming. The hours of filming will be no earlier than 8 a.m. and no later than 10 p.m. There's a possibility that the night work would limit it to just one night, though they said they may want to have, they would like to get some sunset scenes in because of the beautiful area that they said. There will be Ramapo police presence throughout the production. At least one police officer is to be present. They are telling us that they will not be closing any of the streets. However, the police presence will be there in the event that they have to close the street for a very short period of time to move a piece of equipment or something like that, but which would be very infrequent. Otherwise, again, the streets will be open. There's not going to be any traffic. There should not be any traffic issues as far as folks traversing the streets in the neighborhood. And in addition, that there will be no intrusion to the outside area of the neighborhood or in the neighborhood. And they assure me that most of the activity will be interior, that you're not going to see, other than perhaps trucks and maybe some equipment nearby, most of the activity will be in the house. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be parking vehicles. They're using the Pfizer parking lot over in Pearl River to host their catering trucks. My understanding was they were reaching out to the Forster Church to possibly use their parking lot for parking of vehicles. Again, they were asking neighbors in the surrounding area if their driveways would be available. They would also compensate them for the very short period of time. So again, I get the impression, and I can see that these folks are trying to accommodate the village as best at their utmost to make sure that there is no inconvenience and that they would be a welcomed presence in the village and that we would welcome them to come back. So that having been said, I would entertain motion 2019-42, approving the filming project on Broadview, subject to the conditions as I just mentioned, those 1, 2, 3, and 4.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second,
trustee
Mr. Mayor.
Miller, for the motion, and thank you, deputy mayor Valentine, for the second. Next, I would enter, all those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, aye. Opposed, there being none? Sorry about that. No problem. Next, resolution 2019-43, approving the abstract of audited claims.
All right. Resolved that the funds set forth on pages 1 through 3 on the abstract dated April 18, 2019, in the aggregate amount of $144,808.50 as submitted by the village treasurer be hereby approved.
Thank you, trustee Miller, for the motion. Do I hear a second?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, deputy mayor Valentine, for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, there being none, thank you very much. At this juncture, we would open up the floor to public